You can come on back up, Office Agent Ron.
All right. Okay, District Court is reconvened.
Please be seated. Ms. Linus, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Special Agent Ron, have you had extensive experience interviewing different people regarding different crimes?
Yes, I have.
In speaking with Mr. Kozak, was there a particular question that you posed to him that caused him to pause the longest and seem to give the greatest amount of contemplation?
There was, yes.
And which question was that?
Well, I noticed that while questioning him, he was appropriate in terms of his responses in timely fashion. His responses were, I would say, appropriate in terms of his answer to the questions. But there was one particular question that I asked that kind of struck me, and that was when I gave him the hypothetical that if he had the opportunity to say one more thing to Andrea, if she was in the car with us, what would he say to her? And I noted that there was an extended pause. In fact, there was even a sigh and then an additional pause. And that's when he responded that you would have the right to be afraid of me. Or you were right to be afraid of me.
In the interview, it seemed at different times he was expressing his view of Andrea and what she was thinking about him or what she seemed to think of him. And what did he seem to express in terms of what he believed Andrea's view was of him?
He had made mention a couple times that she was either afraid of him or specifically, I recall him making the statement that she said that he freaked her out. I remember he even asked her, or tried to anyway, find out what that meant, and he stated that he didn't get a response from her. But then later during that time in which I was talking with him, he made the statement, well, she was probably right.
Did he also express what his view of her was about the time that he left the mall and left his work sometime after 5 p.m. that day?
Yes, I asked him that question, what he was thinking when he left the mall, again, which would be about 5:20 or so, according to what he said. And he stated that he thought her as a backstabbing, blood-sucking whore.
And did he say why or expand upon why he would view her like that?
I object. The statement speaks for itself as repetitive and redundant. No added value to the jury.
Sustained.
What was your understanding about when he said the breakup, that Andrea broke up with him? When did that start?
He told me that the breakup basically started the night before, which would have been June 11th, right around 10:10, he said, or right around 10:15 in the evening, about the same time that he and his wife were going to watch the movie Jurassic World.
Did he express so that there seemed to be communication between he and Miss Farrington on the following day, on June 12th?
There was, yes.
Now, there seemed to be things that made him more angry at that time.
Yes, there was.
And what were those things that he expressed to you?
Objection. The statement speaks for itself. It's been introduced. My objection is that it's repetitive, it's cumulative.
Sustained.
When you were meeting with him and observing him, did he appear to be expressing any remorse for what he had done?
Very little.
Once you completed your interview with him, did you check on or attempt to check on the accuracy of the statements that he gave you?
I did, yes.
Okay. And was that part of the investigation from then on, I believe you ended at about 1:15 in the morning. Did the investigation continue or really proceed after that when you had his statements?
It did. And you need to understand is that when I first spoke with Mr. Kozak, or the defendant, that everything was still new, everything was raw, everything was still coming in, and so we're trying to verify and validate some of the statements in which he makes. And so sometimes that can take a couple hours or even a couple days, it just depends. But during that process, again, I was overseeing all the agents. I wasn't the case agent, but I became aware of various facts that were collected during the investigation and that they married up to the statement in which he gave.
Did that include the location he told you of where he had thrown his wallet?
Yes, and it was, if it could kind of explain, is that his recall to attention and detail was pretty amazing.
Was this different than what you had seen in other interviews that you had done?
It is, and it was. For example, I've had the misfortune of having to interview a number of people involving death investigations, shootings, anything from a victim to...
Objection to the details of it, for purpose of this case, be irrelevant and material, no probative value on the details of other incidents.
Sustained.
Did you note anything in particular about the detail he was able to give you when you were speaking with him?
I did, yes.
Okay. And what was that you noted about the detail?
Well, for example, he stated that he first parked in the second handicap stall. That was accurate. He talked about going through the doors close to Mellow Mushroom. That was accurate. He talked about going directly to the Welcome Center where Andrea was standing. That was accurate. He talked about the fact that Andrea was communicating, or at least speaking, with two other people, that being an African-American male with a crutch, which was accurate, another employee sitting at the Welcome Center, once again accurate. He talked about the fact that the weapon was in his right pocket, again accurate. He talked about raising the weapon up and firing roughly 3 to 5 feet away from Andrea, again accurate. He talked about the fact that the weapons were placed somewhere, the rounds were placed somewhere in the torso area between the shoulders and the lower back, again accurate. He talked about running towards Shields, once again accurate. He talked about disposing the weapon, again accurate. He described where it was located, and to the fact that he even saw someone place the weapon in the cardboard compactor was accurate, and the fact that there was another witness there that saw him do that. All of these things go to show the accuracy of his statement to me and just the detail that he had at the time. He even talked about the clothing in which Andrea was wearing, the purple shirt and the jeans, very accurate. He talked about where he placed the wallet, and that was found to be true. He talked about where he disposed of the phone, again true. We were able to locate the phone near mile marker 257 on Interstate I-80 on the South Ditch. All of these statements that he made were accurate and true, to include the weapon itself, the make and model, the ammunition that was used, the ammo in which was found in his car, the amount of ammo that was there. All of these facts, all of these details were found to be true, thereby going to his consistency of the statement and the facts that he had and his detail to the shooting incident.
I'm going to talk about one of the things you just mentioned, and we heard him describe where he had thrown the cell phone into a ditch on the, I believe it would be the south side of Interstate 80, and you went through details with him. Is that correct when he was saying where he had thrown the cell phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it subsequently found by another agent in that location or approximately the location he had said?
Yes, as I previously mentioned, it was found near mile marker 257, which was on the south ditch or the off of I-80 while traveling towards the Quad Cities.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Special Agent Ron, I'm showing you what has been admitted as State's Exhibit Number 19. Ask if you could take a look at this. And can you tell us what that is?
Yes, this is an evidence bag that was sealed on, it looks like the 13th and of July 13th or June 13th, and inside the bag is pieces of a cell phone, or at least the case, and then the cell phone itself, which looks or appears to be an LG phone. And then on the outside of the bag It described it as an LG cell phone with a green back found in the south ditch on I-80 at the 257.7 mile marker.
Thank you. When you met with Mr. Kozak, it appeared he was polite the whole time. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
And have we seen on the video basically your entire, or seen or heard your entire interaction with him?
Yes.
Okay. Did you meet with him ever after this, after the end of that, or the conclusion of the video?
I did not.
Okay. At the time, again, did he appear to be giving answers that were consistent with the questions you were asking him?
Absolutely, yes.
And throughout it, was he, I mean, you talked about his descriptiveness. Was there ever a time when you were interviewing when he didn't seem to be able to explain or understand what had happened or what he was relating to you?
No, it appeared to me that he was very clear on the entire event.
At any time, did you feel that he was not fully attentive or engaged in your conversation with him?
He was fully engaged, I would say.
Did there ever seem to be a time when he was just, did not appear to be present during the interview, that he seemed to let his mind wander or things such as that?
Never.
Was he alert the entire time you were talking to him?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any concerns regarding his ability to understand any of the questions you were asking?
No, in fact, there were times that he would correct me. For example, I used the wrong number for a cell phone number, and he corrected that. He even gave us directions to the police department, so his answers were very appropriate.
Okay. Even the directions to the Coralville Police Department, is that correct? It appeared there was some difficulty in locating
Yeah.
it?
At the time, which I wasn't aware of it, there was a lot of construction. It was difficult to get to the police department at the time, so it sounded confusing, I apologize, but there was a lot of construction at the time.
But Mr. Kozak was able to correctly and appropriately direct you or direct Trooper Engsler to the Coralville Police Department?
He did. He even first suggested taking 5th Street and then use the alternate route, going down by Hy-Vee, which would have been accurate too.
Was there anything that concerned you about his really comprehension of why you were interviewing, what you were interviewing him about, or anything else in the time that you spent with him on June 12th or June 13th of 2015?
No. I mean, it was remarkable, his detail and recall. It was amazing.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Mr. Parrish.
Thank you. He told you that after they had broken up, she texted him and said that she missed him. Is that correct?
I don't know if it was he
That's
missed.
what you testified to, and that's what the tape showed. My question is yes or no. Did he tell you that?
I don't recall that. That specific verbiage.
So if that's in the tape and you don't recall it, you just forgot about that?
Well, if it's in the tape, then it'd be accurate, yes.
So did you confirm that?
Which part, sir? I'm sorry, that she texted him back? She did text him back, yes.
Right. Did you confirm that?
Other than listening to the audio, that's all I've done at this point, sir.
Did you confirm it by looking at the telephone records?
No, I did not.
Did you confirm the fact that she was playing him along?
I'm going to object at this time, as it's really falling outside the scope of this witness's personal knowledge.
Overruled.
Did you confirm the fact whether or not she was stringing him along?
No.
Did you confirm the fact of whether or not he snapped?
I don't know how I would confirm that.
Did he tell you he snapped?
He did say that, yes.
Did you try to find out and confirm whether or not he had snapped?
I don't know how I would confirm that.
Did you talk to any family members?
I did not, no, sir.
Did you talk to anyone who knew him at work about when he said he snapped, what that meant?
The only person I interviewed
No,
was Mr.
excuse me.
Kozak.
Yes. Is that a yes or no?
So no, I did not.
Did you confirm whether or not she'd said she loved him?
I would have no way of knowing that, sir, no.
Did you confirm it? So the answer is no?
No.
But he was accurate on everything else, but you didn't check to find out whether or not he was accurate about that.
As to whether or not she loved him or he loved her?
Correct.
I would have no way of doing that. So no, I did not.
Did you
confirm.
check to see whether or not she'd sent him text messages saying that she loved him?
I did not, no, sir.
Did you check to find out where she put him off and pulled him back like a puppet on a string for the last 3 to 4 months?
I guess I rephrase the question. I'm sorry.
Did
What was
you
the
check
question?
whether or not she played him like a puppet on a string for the last 3 to 4 months?
Again,
Is that yes or no, please?
I did not know.
But you would agree that every single thing he told you, as you told Ms. Linus, in the direct examination turned out to be absolutely accurate to the point that you called it remarkable. Isn't that correct?
I recall.
No, listen to my question, sir.
I am, sir.
I'll have her read it back if you need to. Would you like her to read it back
Sure.
to you? Thank you.
But you would agree that every single thing he told you, as you told Ms. Lyons in the direct examination, turned out to be absolutely accurate to the point that you called it remarkable. Isn't that correct?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Yet on these other points, as the person who you said was leading the investigation into him, you would agree you didn't follow up on some of those things.
I did not follow up on them. No, I
All
did
right.
not.
Now, there are ways you could have followed up, is that correct?
There are ways that could be followed up to some degree.
Well, you just testified on direct examination when you first started about these telephone records. Would you agree? The telephone records that were submitted originally by the state as being in a redacted format? You recall testifying about that?
I understood there were some
No.
redacted forms.
Did you understand my question, sir? My question is, did you understand when you first testified, you testified about the telephone records being first submitted by the state in a redacted format? That's yes or no?
Yes,
All right. Now, you testified, did you not, that you were aware they were redacted, isn't that correct?
yes.
Did you redact them?
I did not.
Who redacted them?
Someone on the investigative team.
When were they first redacted?
I don't know.
When were you first told that you were going to have to testify in this courtroom before this jury on redacted text messages?
Yesterday.
For the first time since this case started June 12th, when you were involved, it's a fact that you weren't told until yesterday that you were going to testify about redacted text messages. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you know prior to yesterday, when you were told you were going to testify on this issue, that these telephone records were going to be redacted?
I'm sorry, say it again. You lost me on that one. I
Did you
apologize.
know prior to yesterday, when you were told you were going to testify on this issue, that telephone records, text messages had been redacted?
No.
Then how can you walk into this courtroom and tell us that the reason they were redacted was to protect the privacy of individuals from 2015?
Because we felt that the
No.
information that I'm going to answer it for you.
I said, how could you, not we,
Okay.
you is what I said.
Okay. It makes sense that they would be redacted to protect the privacy of the individuals because it
How-
wasn't relevant to the investigation.
How would you know if you didn't see them until yesterday? If you didn't know about it until yesterday, how could you know?
It just makes sense, I guess.
What makes sense about it?
Just that we felt that the information that was on these records that you're referring to was reference to Kozak and to Farrington.
Sir, you keep going back to we.
Yes, the
You
investigative
testified,
team.
you testified, Detective Ron, Agent Ron, that you in fact were not involved in the decision to redact. So you have no idea what was redacted, do you?
That's true.
You never knew what was redacted until yesterday after this trial had been going on for a week and 2 days. Wouldn't that be true?
That's true.
So all the time we were doing our prep, all the time we were doing everything else with regard to this case, you would agree you knew nothing about that.
Your Honor, this has been asked and answered.
I'll withdraw the question. Let me move on with this point. Who told you yesterday that certain items had been redacted?
The prosecution team.
Who?
The county attorney.
For the first time?
I believe so, yes.
Did they go through and match up what had been redacted from what had been unredacted?
No.
So when you have you done that yourself? Have you gone in and matched up what the prosecution introduced already into the record and what's pending now to be introduced? Did you go back and match it up?
I did not know.
Do you think that was important?
No, because
How do you know?
because we have the originals here.
No. How do you know it wasn't important if you didn't do it?
Objection, asked and answered.
Overruled.
Because I thought that the important data would be between Farrington and the defendant.
How do you know there weren't other people that were involved that got him upset? How do you know that if you never saw the records?
I just know what he told me.
Well, so you didn't read the record where her last text message is that I found someone else, or there's someone else. You didn't know that.
I was told the last text
No,
message was...
Sir, the question is, did you know that or not? My question.
No.
And do you think that you could have found some information by going through the unredacted messages to find out if there was something of significance about that?
The investigative team would have, yes.
Do you think you could have?
Could have, yes.
But you didn't?
I did not know.
Now, do you know now, since yesterday, when this trial has now started, that there is some information related to someone else in these text messages? Do you know that now, yes or no?
Your Honor, I'm going to object as it's irrelevant what this particular witness knows. The evidence will come in or not.
Overruled.
Say again, sir, I'm sorry.
Do you know now, as you sit here, since you said you didn't find out until last night or yesterday, that there was information in those unredacted portions that could relate to Ms. Farrington's conversations with Mr. Kozak?
I'm not aware of what that content would be.
All right. So when you answered on direct examination Ms. Linus's question with regard to why there was a redacted as opposed to an unredacted, you would agree at the time you answered that question where you said you were doing, say, the jury a favor by redacting it, you were not quite being accurate, were you?
No, I think that that is accurate.
So they were saying they were doing the jury a favor by redacting it?
Trying to simplify it so it's easier to read for them.
Well, if there is information in it of importance to the defense or prosecution, it's important for everyone to know, including you as an investigator. Isn't that true?
That is true, yes.
But yet you testified without even comparing the material. Would you agree?
Yes.
So when you made the statement early on in the first question to Ms. Linus to you, and your response was you did it to simplify the information for the jury. That's what you told them, isn't it?
I don't know if I said I did it. I said it may have been done. I'm not sure I used the word I.
Well, you said to protect the privacy of an individual. Tell me, as you sit here now, when you testified on direct examination, tell the jury whose privacy were you protecting when you answered that question?
Those that were in this list.
Who?
Whomever they may be, I don't know who it is.
Where in any report does it say we're not going to give them this information because we're protecting someone's privacy? Can you find any report that says that?
Objection, Your Honor, it's irrelevant.
Overruled.
No, I'm not aware of any report that says that.
So where did you get it from?
That we're protecting the privacy?
Yes.
I just think it made sense that...
No, where did you get the information from
to
to testify to this jury on that point?
Well, we discussed it as an investigative team.
Where did you get the information to testify to the jury on that point?
Your Honor, I'm going
Is my question.
Object, one, it's asked and answered. Two, it's argumentative.
Overruled.
Through the prosecuting team.
Last night?
Yes,
Or this
sir.
morning?
Last night. Or yesterday sometime.
Did they tell you when they were giving you directions on what to tell the jury about this information? That maybe, Agent Ron, you might want to take your time and read through it before you tell the jury there was not anything significant here?
That was never said, no.
Do you think as a good agent you perhaps should have taken the time to review the information?
That is possible.
As a good agent, a good DCI, you're with the DCI, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, been there for years, 19 years as head agent, is that correct? If someone gives you a stack of telephone records to read, you as a good agent would want to read them and see whether or not there's something of significance in there before you testify to a jury about it, wouldn't you?
If there's something of significance, yes.
Right. Now, would you want to know that Wendy Robbins at one point had texted Ms. Farrington to see whether or not it was okay for Mr. Kozak to come and talk with her?
If it's in the text, then yeah.
That would be
That'd be
pretty
fine.
important, wouldn't it?
Okay.
Wouldn't that be important, sir?
That Wendy suggested to Farrington?
Right. Here's Ms. Farrington sending a text to Ms. Farrington about whether or not it was okay for Mr. Kozak to come up and speak with her at the welcome booth because they wanted to know who was going to be working at that time.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be important to know?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Well, if you knew in point of fact that Ms. Robbins was one of the people complaining about Mr. Kozak coming up to the welcome booth, and Ms. Farrington was texting Ms. Robbins when he would come up to the booth, if Ms. Farrington was checking to see who was going to be working, whether or not it was Cy or Wendy Robbins, it shows that she was part of this whole creation of the incident at the welcome booth, wouldn't it?
Your Honor,
I
I'm
don't
going to
know.
object at this time, as this is a misstatement of the record, as well as it being irrelevant at this time, and argumentative.
I'll sustain the objection that it's argumentative.
But let me see, can I break down a compound question here? Did you know that at one point Ms. Robbins and Ms. Farrington had been exchanging texts about when she was going to be working?
I did not know that,
All
no.
right. You know that was in the redacted portion that the state has introduced as part of the trial in this case?
I did not know that.
Okay. Did you know that they had actually taken that portion out? Now, did you know they'd taken that out?
If it didn't relate to text between the defendant and Farrington, then it was taken out.
All right. Do you know what role Ms. Robbins has played during the course of this trial?
I do not. Other than a witness, beyond that, I don't know.
All right. If she was the employer who worked in the same company, not the employer, but worked in the same company with Mr. Kozak, and they had communicated about the issue of the welcome booth, would that be important to know at the same time she was communicating with Mr. Kozak about the welcome booth?
With all due respect, sir, I don't know what communication there is about the welcome booth.
All right. So you would agree then you weren't involved enough to know that it played a significant role in what Mr. Kozak understood about when he can go and when he couldn't go?
The only person I interviewed in this was Mr. Kozak.
So the answer is no, you would not have known.
I would not have played a role in that.
Okay. But do you think as an investigator that someone else who knew all the facts of this case, something like that would be significant to them?
The level of significance, I don't know.
Well, we don't know the level. We're not talking about the level,
Sure.
whether it's 10 or 0, but it would have been significant as an investigator.
Piece of the puzzle,
Right. And really, that's what we want to try to solve, the puzzle. Is that correct?
absolutely.
Now, if in fact, in the messages that were left that Mr. Kozak indicates to you, and you said everything else turned out to be accurate, that he snapped because of this breakup in this relationship, and it was indicated that Ms. Farrington said to him, there is someone else. Do you think it would be significant to go through these records to find out if there's a reference within that short time frame, 3 or 4 days, pointing to someone else?
Someone may have, I did not.
Okay. I ask you as an investigator, do you think that would have been significant?
Could have been, yes.
Do you know that that information was redacted from the records?
This pile here that is the original, or in terms of the non-redacted, the redacted version that I'm told was submitted, then that would have been removed because, again, the redacted version only has text between the victim and the defendant only.
I understand that, and my question is, to your knowledge, did anyone try to find out who this person was?
Again,
No, to your knowledge, is yes or no?
I don't know.
So you don't know or you know?
I don't know.
Okay. But you would agree, based upon the work you did in this case, Agent Ron, and with your experience, that we do live in an age where text messages, electronic communications are pretty significant in a criminal investigation.
Not always.
I didn't say, oh, I mean, you don't have to disagree with me all the time.
I'm not, but I'm telling you.
I didn't say always.
It's not. Let me answer that by this way.
Okay.
People tend to think that text messages are always involved in the case, or a cell phone is always involved in the
Sir,
case.
let me answer
That's not true.
Mr. Ron, Agent Ron, would you answer my question? I said, in this day and age, electronic communications in a criminal investigation generally are important. Would you agree with me on that?
I think you use generally now, and so
Okay,
I would
did.
agree to that, yes.
I'm trying to get some agreement with you on something.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. They're generally important, is that correct?
Generally, yes.
All right, because we've had an agent from a DEA, D&E come in, and he's testified, I don't want to repeat all of that.
Sure.
He's talked about the significance of telephone records, why they are so important. And as you're a very experienced investigator in cases, you would agree that cell phone records are pretty important.
Certainly helpful.
Right. And they help with investigations. Is that correct?
That is true, yes.
And if you can find in any type of case, not necessarily this case, but in a case where there have been exchanges of communications, it's important to try to track those records and try to put them in some order to see if they have any relationship to the investigation.
Yes.
All right. And you've done that yourself in certain cases,
I have,
is that correct?
yes.
Now, you do extractions yourself through Cellbrite or anything like that?
We have people that do that. I do not. I never have.
Right, and they become experienced in it, and you get the data, and quite frankly, that's ultimately how we ended up with some of this material in this case, is that correct?
Not this exhibit you're referring to, no.
But I said some of the material in this
Yes.
case, right. Now, there's also the old-fashioned way, so to speak, of just getting cell phone numbers or even home telephone bills and tracking down those bills and talking with those people. if
Sure.
you find those records. That's one way that you investigate. Would you agree?
That is true.
All right. Now, do we know from your own knowledge or from reading any reports in this case as to whether or not any of these folks, to your knowledge, and I realize you said you were just interviewing Mr. Kozak, but you also testified on direct examination that one of your agents is busy serving our country, so you are standing in for him. And that's why I'm asking you this question. Do you know whether he, in reviewing his reports, did any work with regard to the telephone or digital or electronic communications?
Someone involved in the investigation did the work. I don't know who that would have been.
Okay. So when you said you were standing in for him, and that's why you were standing in for him, you didn't mean that you stood in for him and reviewed all of his reports and everything, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So really, to be fair to you, and what you did, and I want to make sure, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, just like you said in the investigation, Mr. Kozak, you basically did that interview, and as an agent who they would come to for some assistance, you basically were available to help them if they needed anything else done. Would that be fair?
Yes.
Okay. And did you go back to your station and did you follow up at all with regard to this investigation, other than coming here in the courtroom to testify?
I didn't do any other follow-up involving the investigation itself.
And I want to make sure, and when they introduce those records to you, and they are standing to be introduced now, you didn't actually follow up since last night when they brought it to your attention what they wanted you to do. You didn't follow up by making calls this morning or checking with any system or running through a database these numbers or anything like that. Would that be fair, Agent Ron?
I did not do that.
Okay. Your Honor, this time I'm going to, I didn't object, but I am going to not place any objections to the redacted version, the unredacted version, and I believe it states exhibit
20B.
Exhibit.
20B.
12 hours, which is number 11. Yeah, I think it's LL. You have that? I have it. Thank you. Well, what I'd like you to do,
So exhibit 20B is admitted.
look at exhibit, Metro John, I'm sorry. Thank you. Look at exhibit LL, and let me just check the last page, Agent Ron, a second. And see whether or not exhibit LL being the defendant's exhibit, you can just flip through it by page numbers, and I think we've already compared it.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I don't know what he's looking at. We don't
Oh, I'll show you.
do that.
Let me show you what it is. Thank you, I'm sorry. Take this to instruct. And I think Ms. Linus had an opportunity to look at it, at LL, and see if that matches up. Mine has 3 whole punches in it, but see if with by page number, by a couple of matches.
It does, yes.
All right. We move to introduce exhibit LL, please.
No objection.
Exhibit LL is admitted.
No further questions. Thank you, Agent Ryan.
And you're testifying here regarding State's Exhibit 20B, the unredacted version of the text messages. Were you in any way trying to deceive the court or the jury?
None whatsoever.
And what was the purpose in your being willing to describe that these were the unredacted messages?
Oftentimes, we discuss how the case is progressing, and it was thought that it would be best to go ahead and provide the jury the unredacted version. And that essentially is my role in this.
Thank you. And actually, in 20B, does that provide more information to the jury than might have been provided in 20A? Which
I
I'm
didn't
not
see
sure.
20A.
May I approach, Your Honor?
May.
Okay, again, 20A would be the redacted. Again, that was the information that was removed, that was not between the defendant and the victim. And 20B has all the information, the numbers, as well as the text content.
In your interview with the defendant on June 12th and June 13th, did he ever say anybody else was involved in his decision to shoot or kill Miss Farrington?
He did not.
Did he suggest that there was anybody else that was involved in any way in the planning or the discussion with shooting Andrea Farrington?
None whatsoever.
In your role as an investigator, did you think it was important to find out after your interview with Mr. Farrington if there were other text messages from Andrea Farrington that didn't involve specifically the shooting?
Well, there is no...
opinion conclusion of this witness with no foundation in light of his earlier answers on this question.
Sustained.
The things that you testified about on direct, that you could check on what the defendant said and that it turned out to be accurate in terms of what the investigation showed, did those have to do with physical things that could be confirmed?
Yes.
So when you were talking about the location of the gun, type of gun, were those things that were easily confirmed by an investigation?
Yes.
Was somebody's state of mind regarding being strung up or treated like a puppet, are those things that you can check automatically looking at physical evidence?
No, not at all.
Did you know of any physical evidence that would tell you what the defendant's state of mind was at the time that he shot and killed Andrea Farrington?
No.
And that would include perhaps text messages Ms. Farrington had with other people?
Correct.
Was your job in this investigation initially to do the interview with Mr. Kozak, relate that to the investigators, assist if you needed to in other ways, but you were not the primary agent in this case, is that right?
No, I was, again, assigned agents as an SAC. My role is to supervise. In this particular case, my one and only thing that I did in this investigation was to interview the defendant. I provided the case agent and the investigative team those facts and information that he provided, and then I returned back to my role as a supervisor, and I did not interview anybody else. I didn't collect any other information that I know of.
Okay. As a matter of fact, all of the evidence you testified that could be confirmed with what the defendant told you, were all those things that were confirmed within the day or the day after the shooting of Andrea Farrington?
Certainly, I'm sure it was confirmed. I mean, it was passed on to me eventually over time because, again, I wasn't in there 24/7, and so eventually it was told to me.
But those things in terms of where he was located in the Coral Ridge Mall, where he parked, the type of weapon, location of the wallet, location of the cell phone, were those all found within, say, 48 hours?
Objection, he says, my objection is foundation.
Sustained.
Were you aware within 48 hours or so, because of your role in the investigation and your work with the Coralville Police Department and your other agents regarding how the investigation was going and what witnesses had reported and what physical evidence had been found?
A lot of information was provided to me.
Okay. And was the information that you testified on that you could confirm what the defendant had said, was that information you had within, say, 48 hours?
Objection, foundation, and hearsay.
Overruled.
I would say probably most of it. I mean, I couldn't tell you exactly what was told to me within the first 48 hours, but it's not uncommon for that to happen.
I'm going to ask that answer be stricken. The jury minds to disregard if it's unresponsive and it exceeds the scope also of the cross-examination.
Overruled.
Were you ever asked by any of the other agents to interview other people at the time or around the time of the crime or since then?
Objection, relevance, and previous ask and answer.
Overruled.
I was not asked to do that. Again, my role was to be a supervisor. I was not, so to speak, boots on the ground. After I interviewed Mr. Kozak, I returned to my role as an SAC.
And this is your assistance with the prosecution team, is that based on the fact that Special Agent Jagat Sandhu is overseas?
It is, and so I did not want to assign another agent to it because they have their own caseload, and so I took it upon myself to assist the prosecuting team as much as I could while in his absence.
Thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Parrish.
No question, Your Honor, thank you.
Agent, you may step down. You're excused.
Thank you.
Ms. Linus, does the state have any further evidence to present at this time?
No, Your Honor, the state rests.
Per prior agreement, we will proceed immediately to the defense case. Mr. Parrish, are you ready to call your first witness?
We are, Judge. You want to get, Murray, you want to get, Delbert. I'll get Delbert,
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to take this as a moment to stand up and stretch, if you feel free to do that. It might be just a few seconds anyway. That any testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please take your seat. Please state and spell your name for the record.
My name is Delbert L. King. That's K-I-N-G.
Your witness, Mr. Parrish.
Thank you. State your name. Oh, he's did you spell your last name also?
Yes.
All right. Tell us what your occupation is, please.
I'm a licensed private investigator.
And what is your place of business address?
King and Associates in Urbandale, Iowa.
Okay. And how long have you been in a business of being a private investigator?
14 years.
Okay. What did you do prior to that, Mr. King?
I'm a retired Urbandale police lieutenant.
And what did you do as a lieutenant with the Urbandale Police Department?
I ran the Criminal Investigation Division for 20 years out of my 30-year career.
And in that, would you describe briefly what your background was in terms of experience and your education, and do that briefly for us, please.
I'm a graduate of the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy. I'm also a graduate of the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. And as the officer in charge of the Criminal Investigation Division, I was over the identification section, the investigation section, and the school liaison officer program.
Okay. And tell the jury, now that you're in private practice, now that you've no longer with the Urbandale Police Department as a lieutenant, tell us what work you do now. Just give us a general idea of the type of work you do now.
I primarily stay with criminal investigation cases, criminal defense, such as this case here. I serve processes, and I do some photography if I have to.
Okay. And is that limited just to central Iowa, or do you travel all over the state of Iowa?
I travel the entire state.
And that work that you do, Mr. King, is that work limited solely to state court, or do you do work in other areas?
Also federal court, both.
Okay. And does that involve, sometimes you've talked about your work with regard to taking photographs, doing other stuff, and interviewing witnesses. Do you also testify in court, such as what you're doing now?
I do, sir.
All right. And you do that on a private basis, is that correct?
That's correct.
Did I retain you on behalf of Mr. Kozak to do certain work with regard to this case?
Yes.
All right. Mr. King, just briefly tell us what did I have you do, and again, don't spend a lot of detail on it, but just briefly outline what work I want it done in this case, please.
You asked me to go to a Coral Ridge Mall. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm going to object. Could we proceed more in a question-answer format? This is very broad and vague.
It's pretty narrow, but I don't know. You want me, I can lead him.
It's overruled. Still answer the question.
You asked me to go to Coral Ridge Mall in Coralville and walk the area, measure it off, the distance that I was told that Mr. Kozak had entered the mall and during the shooting and when he left the mall.
Okay.
You asked me to take some snapshots, if at all possible. And you asked me to drive from the mall to his residence in North Liberty and document the mileage and also the time that it took me. And I did all of that.
Okay. Did I also tell you to go out and see if there was a shooting range within the proximity of North Liberty or the mall?
Yes, you did.
And did you do that?
I did.
And then again, did I ask you on another occasion to go up where he grew up in Osage and take certain photographs of certain buildings that I wanted to take a look at?
I went there and also Charles City.
All right. And did you follow up on that, and did you, as a result, take certain photographs of that area?
I did.
All right. First of all, with regard to your ability to see how long it takes to get from a mall area, and did I tell you where in the mall area I want you to go from?
You did.
All right. To North Liberty, is that where Mr. Kozak was residing at the time?
Yes.
All right. And when you did that, you have in the past not only testified, but you have had experience in determining how long it takes to travel from one location to another. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And when you did those time trials for that particular area, how long did it take you from the leave from the mall, from the welcoming area, and where did you park?
I parked in the second handicap spot from the main entrance of Coralville Mall.
Okay.
I left there and I drove to his address in North Liberty. It took me 14 minutes to go 3.8 miles. This was done between 11 and noon, and traffic was heavy. This was done on December 16th, just before the holidays.
Okay.
My return trip took 12 minutes instead of 14.
Okay. And what was the distance on that, please?
3.8 miles.
I'm going to show you what is marked as Offense Exhibit G. Is this the address I gave you that I want you to go and take a look at with regard to the apartment building that Mr. Kozak was residing on the date of this incident?
Yes, sir.
And is that fairly and accurately represent the apartment building as you saw it on that date and where you ended up measuring the distance from the mall to that?
That's correct.
Move to introduce Defense Exhibit G.
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit D is admitted.
I don't want to introduce any photographs of the mall. I think we've had enough of those at the moment, so we won't do that, but you did go to Coral Ridge Mall and from that area up there, is that correct? And did you?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear an answer.
Is that a yes, sir?
I said, yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. And you did take some photographs?
I did.
All right, but we don't need to introduce those. All right, I'm going to show you what is marked. And you should have those. Defendant's Exhibit I. Take a look at this, Mr. King. Would you tell us what that is, please, and where you found that particular, where you took that particular photograph?
That's a shooting range, and it's located in Swisher, Iowa, which is north of Coralville.
And did you find anything unusual about that particular range?
Well, I thought it was unusual that both long weapons and handguns were being used there when I was there. So I don't know if that's a standard procedure or not. Most of the time there were different ranges. That's what was going on when I was there.
Was it a controlled firing range, or was it a range where they had someone would charge you a fee where things were set up, or did you have to bring your own material there?
No, that was unusual too. I saw no one in charge. It just seemed to be a bunch of people out there shooting weapons.
Okay.
And it did not appear that there was a manager or somebody in charge of that operation.
And was there any safety equipment there at all?
Not that I saw, no.
I'm going to move to introduce this as a Defendant's Exhibit I, please.
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit I is admitted.
And I also ask you, as you've testified to already, and we'll go through these fairly quickly, I'm going to put these up there for you. I'm going to show you 3 houses that I asked you to go up to take photographs of, and that was in Osage, Iowa, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. When you went up to take those photographs that have certain addresses, or did you have to communicate directly with Ms. McComas, Alex's mom, to get those, or did you get addresses from our office?
No, I had the addresses from your office.
Okay. And you take 3 photographs up there, 3 houses?
I did, sir.
And would you give us those addresses, please?
There's a house at 1032 Pleasant Street in Osage, 515 Maple Street in Osage, and 433 State Street in Osage.
And the photographs that you took, and you need to give me the exhibit number as you read them off too, so we can make sure we have the record clear.
Okay, 1032 Pleasant Street is Exhibit F.
Okay.
515 Maple is Exhibit E, and 433 State Street is Exhibit D.
Okay. Were you aware of your own knowledge at that time as to whether or not Mr. Kozak at some point had lived at those homes?
I was told that these were his past residences, yes.
Did you know anything about how they were put together, how they were sold, who lived there, or anything like that, other than it being his residence at one point?
No, I was just given the address and say they were prior residents.
And you did those photographs, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, I would move at this time to introduce Exhibit D, which is 433 State Street in Osage, Exhibit E, which is 515 Maple Street in Osage, Exhibit F, which is 1032 Pleasant Street in Osage.
Objection, Your Honor, they're irrelevant.
Your Honor, may we approach a second?
You may.
Thank you. And what was the date, Mr. King, that you took these photographs?
The residence in Osage, March the 9th.
And did you also go to a, you said you went to Charles City, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
All right, would you take a look at what I asked you to do in Charles City with regard to work there?
I took photographs of the local McDonald's restaurant. I was told that that was a former employer of Mr.
Objection.
Kozak.
I'm going to object at this time as he's speaking about hearsay.
Well, just go ahead to the photographs and tell us, why did you take that? Well, let me withdraw that question. Did you take a photograph there?
I did.
And does that photograph represent the fair and accurate portrayal of McDonald's? And what was the date that you did that?
That was March 9th.
Okay. And that photograph does, in fact, represent that, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Just to go back to when you measured the distance between the Coral Ridge Mall and the address in North Liberty, you said it was rather heavy traffic, is that right, on the way
Yes.
there?
Yes.
On the way back, was it a little bit less traffic?
Must have been, because I made it 2 minutes
Okay.
less.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Mr. Parrish?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Sir, you may step down. You're excused.
Thank you.
Mr. Parrish, you may call your name.
Just go ahead.
What's his name?
Please raise your right hand for me before you sit down.
Oops, sorry.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please take your seat. Please state and spell your name.
Nicholas Ninesinger, Nicholas Nicholas, Ninsinger's Neunsinger.
Your witness, Mr. Parrish.
Thank you, Your Honor. What is your employment, sir?
I'm employed by U.S. Cellular.
How long have you been employed with them?
It will be 4 years in August.
And how old are you, sir?
I am 26 years old.
Are you married or single?
Getting married.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
We've never met before, have we?
Have not.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about where you're from, what town you're from, and then what's your educational background?
So I work in Ames. I'm from Ankeny. Educational background, I have a bachelor's degree in marketing.
From where?
Upper Iowa University.
Okay. And what do you do you work for U.S. Cellular,
Correct,
is that
yep.
correct? Tell us what you do for U.S. Cellular.
Sure. I am the sales manager at the Ames location. I manage my employees as well as deal with customer interactions, can be escalated situations. Just really, my job is to provide a great experience in store.
Okay. Does your job also involve providing material for people who would request it with regard to people's telephone numbers?
Absolutely.
All right. Tell us what kind of information you can provide for people who make a request for telephone information.
As far as me personally, I can provide some call details, so that would be dates and times of text messages as well as phone calls, the duration of the call, as well as what number it came from, as well as what number it is being called.
And what about tower calls? Can you do anything with regard to that information?
As far as what tower it's hitting off of?
Yes, sir.
Yep, that would be through, so we have on-billed call detail and we also have billed call detail. So the on-billed call detail is a little more, provides more of that information as far as what tower it's hitting off of. The call details, the bill call detail is pretty much just states what number is being called, what number is being called from, and then the times.
Okay. Would it be accurate to say that telephone companies, you guys are a service provider, so to speak, do you have certain policies within U.S. Cellular as to how long you retain certain records, such as text messages, telephone calls, or other data?
Absolutely. As far as text message content, that is only kept for 3 days. And then the call detail, that is kept for 1 year.
Okay.
And then the bill detail, though, that is, I have seen it up to 2 years. I don't have a specific date on how long we keep those. For my knowledge, it can be as long as you've been a customer with us.
So therefore, to make sure I understand, if I requested actual text messages, and what I mean by now, today is the 20th of April, and I said, I want text messages, and we'll talk about the procedure at a later point, you can go back to the 17th and that would be it.
Correct.
You couldn't go back before that?
As far as my understanding, no.
Okay. But if I wanted cell phone records as to the text messages, not the content, you can go back 1 year.
Correct.
How long has that been a policy at US Cellular?
I don't know the answer to that.
And how long have you worked there?
I've worked there for coming up on 4 years.
And
So ever since I've been there.
So for at least 4 years, that's been the policy that you were trained with regard to US Cellular, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, my question is, how do I get those records? It's not my telephone number. How can I get those records from you?
Only with a subpoena.
And with a subpoena, what do I get?
And again, this can be as far as I know. As far as the subpoena goes, if it's within the 3 days, you can get the content of the text messages.
And what about the bill?
You can get the bill as well.
With a subpoena, is that correct?
Correct. Correct.
And that's what you've been trained?
Correct.
Nothing further?
Miss Elliott's going to pass.
Ms. Elliott?
Good afternoon.
Hello.
When did you learn that you had to come and testify for this case?
I learned, I would say last week I got an email about it, and then the date's just been kind of, so it was, we were going to do it Thursday, but then I was called this morning to come in today.
When law enforcement is requesting records, isn't it systematic for them to send a search warrant for text content?
That I do not know.
Do you direct law enforcement to send their subpoenas, as you said, or search warrants to corporate, or do you like handling those on your own?
Oh, I do not handle those on my own. That goes through our legal department.
Okay. And did you provide then any records for this case?
I have not, no.
Were you aware that US Cellular, in fact, did provide records for this case?
I was not.
So you haven't seen those at all?
As far as, can you restate the previous question? My apologies.
That's okay. Did you see any of the records that US Cellular provided for this case, any of those?
Yes, I did.
Okay, what did you see?
I got a bill detail as well as, from what I believe to be the on-billed detail as well in an Excel format.
And who provided those to you to look at?
That was provided through an email that I got through our subpoena department.
So your company provided that information to you after they learned that Mr. Parrish wanted you to come testify?
Correct, yep.
What were you asked to come testify about exactly?
Really, I wasn't, really just that the records state what they are. It comes from a tower that's auto-generated, so there's no mishandling through a person. That's as far as what I thought was testified. I didn't have too much other than that.
Okay, and I think you already testified to this, but US Cellular does not keep a long period of time of text message content, correct?
Correct.
And then as far as the call details, how far back does that go?
So if it's the bill detail, like I stated, I have seen it about 2 years or longer.
And you're aware that US Cellular, in this case, provided call detail, those records, all the way back until December 2014, the period that was requested?
Correct.
Right. Okay. Nothing further. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Parrish, anything further?
No questions, sir. Thank you.
Sir, you're excused. You may step down.
Thank you.
Parrish, you may call your next witness.
I call Cassie Farrington, please, to the stand.
Then please raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please take your seat. Please state and spell your name for the record.
Cassie Farrington.
Last name, Farrington.
Your witness, Mr. Parrish.
Thank you, Your Honor. How old are you, ma'am?
I'm 19.
And you're in school?
I took this semester off from college because I have really bad anxiety.
Okay. And where did you go to college?
At Kirkwood.
Okay. And you're studying a particular subject matter there?
I was studying criminal justice because of this situation.
Okay. And Andrea is your sister, is that correct?
Yes.
And the two of you were pretty close, as your mom kind of
We
described?
were really close.
And you would text each other quite a bit?
On a texting app.
Okay. And the texting app was called what?
Kick.
Back in June, after your sister's death, did you write out a statement for law enforcement?
I did.
Okay. Have you had a chance to look at it lately?
Yes.
Okay. When is the last time you looked at it?
Yesterday.
Okay. And did you make any changes to it or anything like that when you looked at it yesterday?
Yes, I don't agree with it at all.
Okay. Did you tell the law enforcement folks that you didn't agree with it at all?
No, I didn't have a chance to because I saw it just a few days ago.
Okay. Well, you want to tell me, first of all, the parts of it that you didn't agree with yet? Well, let me back up just a little bit and take your time to. Do you remember who showed you the statement?
Janet.
Okay. Miss Linus here?
Yes.
And do you remember where you were when she showed it to you?
No.
Okay. Were you at this courthouse or down in Iowa City or something?
No.
Okay. You just don't remember?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you read it to yourself?
Yes.
All right. And you say parts of it you didn't agree with, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that a yes? Do you remember which part of it you didn't agree with?
Towards the bottom.
Okay.
I agree with the first half.
Okay. And what part toward the bottom didn't you agree with?
Can I look at it?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I apologize for that.
Okay. Have you had a chance to take a look at it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, you can't remember which parts you
Yeah.
disagree about? Okay. Let me ask you a few questions about your statement then. I'm not going to take a lot of time from you. Your sister, you wrote out in the statement that your sister indicated to you a few months ago, and that was before you wrote the statement in June, that she was talking to a married man. Is that right?
Yes.
Then at first you didn't believe her? Is that
Correct.
right? Okay. But she told you a little bit more about it as if she was basically following up on that relationship a little
Yes.
bit? Okay. And you told her, and she told you that what she liked about him is that when he talked to her, he made her feel wanted, special, and good about herself.
Yes.
Is that correct? And she believed that he was going to leave his wife for her.
Yes, that's what he told her.
But you cautioned her against that, is that right?
Yes.
Because you thought that she was vulnerable because of the surgery that she had and had issues with men in the past, or didn't know how to deal with a situation like that?
What?
Well,
Yes.
you tell us in your own way. Why did you think that she felt vulnerable? You go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, what you said.
Okay. It's because, but you're her younger sister, right?
Yes.
And you were like giving her advice about a situation like this, is that correct?
Yes.
Why was that?
We both always gave each other advice.
Okay. but you told her that she was vulnerable for that kind of attention, and
Yeah, I'm going to object at this point, as this is very leading. Can we proceed in more of a question and answer format?
I would view this as a hostile witness and allow leading questions.
she also told you that she wanted to break up with Connor at the same time, that she was telling you.
Yes,
that-
she told me that once.
Okay. And then for a period of time.
I told her
Oh, go ahead.
that if she wasn't happy with Connor, she should go look and find herself, but not with a married man, not with Alex.
Okay. She told you his name also?
Yes.
Okay. And for a while after this conversation about her relationship with Alex and the fact they were breaking up, she wanted to break up with Connor, did you guys not talk to each other for a while?
Me and my sister?
Yes.
No, we talked every day.
Oh, you did
We
continue
just
to talk?
didn't really talk about Alex.
Okay, because she didn't pursue that subject with you, is that correct?
Yeah.
Was that a sore spot with the two of you?
No.
Okay. It's just that you both just ignored it in
Yeah.
conversations. But you would generally talk every day?
Yes.
You indicated that then he left at least you were told he left a note on the car.
Yes, she called and told me that, and she was creeped out because that meant that he knew where she parked and that he had watched her walk to her car.
Okay. Now, this note that was left on the car and what she called you and indicated that he had creeped her out, was that a long time after she said she'd started?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any idea how long that might have been? And I know a lot of things are going on in your mind, so as best you can, could you give us
The
some
end of
idea?
February was when she told me she started talking to him, and the note, maybe like the beginning of April. I can't remember.
Okay. And that's okay if you can't remember the exact dates, but you do remember the note, right? And she called, you guys
Yes.
chatted about it? Okay. Now, during that time, did you believe that they had ended their relationship? And when I mean they, I don't mean Connor and your sister, but Alex and your sister.
No.
Okay. You thought it was still going on.
Yes.
Tell me, what led you to believe that up until the time of this note, the relationship was still going on and not broken up at that point?
I knew that they were still like texting and talking.
Okay. And how did you know that?
She told me.
Okay. She also told you about another person who worked as a security guard there too, a Nathaniel.
He doesn't work as a security guard.
He worked at the mall?
No.
Okay.
He just visited the mall.
And she met him through visiting in the mall?
Yes.
Okay. And did she say the same thing about him in terms of describing him as he was creepy or he creeped her out? Did she use those same words?
Yes.
Okay. Was that kind of word that she used from time to time about?
No, that's what I described him as.
Okay. So did you describe Alex as creepy too?
No.
But
My
you
sister did.
Okay. But
I
then
described Nathaniel as creepy.
Okay. Had you ever met Nathaniel?
Yes.
All right. So had you ever met Alex at this point?
Which point?
And that's the point of the note being left on the car.
Yes.
Okay. Where did you meet him?
Briefly at the mall.
And how did you meet him? Tell us the circumstances.
I was sitting in the massage chair and he was working, and he came up and said hello to me.
And how did you know he was the person
Because
who...
my sister, I'm sorry, you can
Oh,
finish
no,
your
that's
question.
fine. I know you're a little nervous, so you go ahead and tell me.
What's your question again?
Oh, that's all right. Okay. I was wondering, how did you know it was Alex?
Because my sister had described to me what he looked like, and I thought maybe I would see him while I was at the mall. My sister was getting her hair done, so I wondered if it was him. And then he came up and said hi to me.
Okay. And did she tell you at that point it was him?
Yes, and then he texted her and told her what I was wearing and said, I think I just saw your sister.
Okay. Do you know whether or not she, when I say she, Andrea told Alex that you were going to be at the mall that day?
I have no idea.
Okay. But somehow he knew it was you?
Yes.
Is that right? And then once he texted her, then she texted you telling you that?
No, I was with her.
Oh, you were with her at the time?
Yes, we were at the
Okay.
mall.
All right. Then at some point after she met Nathaniel, did she tell you that she and Alex had ended their relationship?
They had just stopped texting for a while.
Mhm. Did she tell you why?
No.
Did you ever make an inquiry as to why they had stopped texting or communicating with each other?
No.
Okay. Did she ever tell you at any point in time that she had gone to his bosses?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I talked to Wendy a couple times with my sister.
All right. When did this take place?
I can't remember. Sometime when I was at the mall with my sister. I used to go and visit her all the time.
All right. So when you went to the mall, you then met Wendy Robbins, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you hear what she told Wendy Robbins about Alex?
Not that I remember.
Okay. But you did know that she complained to Wendy Robbins, who worked with Alex, about him, is that right?
Yes.
And tell us how you knew that.
I don't know.
Okay. But somehow you just knew he had complained, is
Yes.
that right? Okay. Do you know what her complaints were about Alex? If you don't know when she complained, do you know what they were?
No.
Okay, that's all right. Well, after they, at some point, stopped talking, do you know if the relationship was reinitiated at some point? Do you recall?
When?
Yes, do you know when they started talking with each other again?
No.
Did she ever tell you that they had started talking with each other again, and also about him leaving his wife?
No.
She never told you that?
No.
I know this is difficult for you, but on the day your sister died, were you aware that Alex Kozak and Andrea were still talking to each other to the extent that they were?
No.
I have nothing further.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you going to have cross-examination?
Just very, very briefly.
Go ahead, then.
When Andrea indicated that the defendant was interested in leaving his wife, do you know what time frame that was? Do you have any idea?
March.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions.
No.
Ma'am, you may step down. You're excused. Ladies and gentlemen, recess until 3:10. Please remember your admonition during the recess. Counsel, could I get a copy of either LL or 20B at some point before tomorrow?
We have an extra one, Judge. Brother, can you get that to the judge, if that's okay with you guys? Can we get the judge a copy of that, we have an extra one, Judge.
Great. I don't know if I'll need it, but that way if something comes up on the content, I'll be able to refer to it. So.
An extra copy. No, did I put both of mine up there? Okay, I did. No, they're not. The extra copy is back there. That's Janet's copy, and my copy, and her 28. We have another one around here somewhere.
We don't necessarily have to have it right now.
We'll get it, Jeff.
One of you can get me a copy of one, and then if an issue comes up about the content that's only in there, I'll be able to see the content.
We'll get one. You have 4 copies, 3 copies.